Hello and welcome to the Dreaming and Doing podcast with me, Nicky Raby. I'm an actor, coach, writer, speaker, podcaster and a mum. And in my coaching work, I work with creatives, personal brands, freelancers and small businesses. In my podcast, I talk about success, but not in a traditional sense. I have conversations with those who have built a business from something they love or who have made a pivot in their career. Also those who have built a brand or a job that maybe didn't exist when they were at school and they found a way to monetize their skills, talents and expertise. I've spoken to loads of incredible people, coaches, designers, journalists, app creators, magazine editors, bloggers, content creators, authors, and all-round movers and shakers. I ask the questions that you want to know the answer to. So how they started, about money, saying no, saying yes, pitching, presenting, putting yourself out there, even though it terrifies you, standing out in a busy online world, growing, scaling and making your work for you and your circumstances. The show notes are always at nickyraby.com/podcast and the conversation continues across social media, often on Instagram, my favourite platform, at Nicky Raby. Thanks so much for listening. It's great to have you with us. In today's episode, I'm talking to Laura Mulvaney, who is the founder and creative director of Electric Sunshine. We talk about so many brilliant things in this episode: working with your husband, building a team, building a business, using your skills that perhaps you've perfected, and also finding those skills or finding those gaps rather where you're like, oh, okay, I need to learn how to do this, or how you move into that leadership role. So rather than working for somebody else, really owning it and stepping up and taking your own business to the next level. There's so much interesting stuff in this episode. So do come over to Instagram. Let us know what you think. Tag us, have a chat. I know so many of you have been loving the February episodes. Thank you so much for all your support. And please review and rate and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I'm going to be offering some lovely prize draws over the next couple of years. When I say prize draws, I don't mean pants, by the way. Anyway, on today's episode, hope you enjoy it and I'll see you soon. Bye. Hi Laura, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Hello, thanks for joining me. Let's talk about you. Like, what do you do? What's your company? Where are you up to?
So I am the founder and creative director of Electric Sunshine. We are a live experience, so events and experiential agency. So we do a lot of brand work, which means we kind of run everything and anything really. So from small, pop-ups, product launches, press days to like big award shows or big sort of fashion week presentations. So kind of every and any event or experience you can think of, we kind of produce and put on for you.
And how did it start for you? Were you also were you doing body shop parties back in the day as a teenager, or was it like every like Monica from Friends, like everybody has to come to my party?
Yeah, I did my first event at 6, so I think that kind of maybe have been kind of showed me that I was going to do this full time. I was 6 and I put on a concert at school and I created the songs. I had a backing singers and a dancer. I had a recorder interlude and I charged tickets.
Wow, you had a vision.
So I think maybe that was showing me what I was going to do. But I think generally I always liked it, and I still do when people enjoy themselves. And if people have a really great time, I really get something out of that. So I think kind of, obviously now that's what we do for our clients and their brands. So there probably was always that in me, and I am quite organised.
Yeah, fantastic. And you so how did it start? What did you train as? How did you kind of get your foot in the door? Because it's notorious for being one of those industries that lots of people want to do. What really worked for you in terms of getting started?
Well, I just come back from travelling and I took a temporary PA job, but it was for magazine publishing. So that's what I did before I set up the business. I was working with the publishing editors of Elle and Elle Deco, and kind of just took it for a week, really. I've been doing account management in advertising before that, and I just stayed. I kept saying, oh, should I stay again? And I stayed and stayed. And, so I wasn't, it was very a temp job, but the opportunity came up to start helping on the events and start kind of assisting the people that were doing them. And then I had a fantastic boss who just, I think probably after a year of being there, just said, look, do you want to run them? They didn't have a resource in their marketing team. So I started doing that. And then I moved into the marketing and took over the whole portfolio. So it was a very, there wasn't the role, it wasn't planned. It was very organic. It just, it all just sort of happened. I didn't think I was going to go into events ever. Life has a funny way of, putting you on the right path. So yeah,
it kind of been something about you though that was showing all these skills. What do you think that was that helped somebody to sort of see, like, you're really great at this?
I think I was really, I was super organised, but also I could manage quite a lot on my plate. But I think, the very first event I did, by a certain time everyone was probably off sort of drinking, but I was still there really wanting to make sure it, went through the whole way through to the end and there was no problems. And I was jumping on things the minute I saw something happening, I was trying to solve it. And I think probably they saw that in me, that I was very dedicated, I suppose, to the job, and that I would, stay sober to the end, to see it through and make sure it all went well. So I think kind of a combination of skills, but probably being able to juggle a lot. Live, there's always, so much going on. And we had a lot of celebrity angle to ours, so you had to manage that, that side of things.
Yes, the unpredictable world of the celebrity.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's going to be some kind of weird nature spoof where David Attenborough kind of does a fly on the wall of celebrities at parties, of like he's reaching in for the latest Big Brother contestant.
Yeah, we're always saying we need to write the book, all the stories. There's so many stories.
Totally.
But, they were great. It kept you on the toes. You always had to solve something. There was always be something that you hadn't planned. So I think kind of being able to, dedication. Events are really hard work. They're long hours and they are, they can be stressful. So, yeah, I think kind of being dedicated and passionate about what you're doing, they probably saw that I loved it and saw there was a role that I could take.
Fantastic. And what happened, you sort of knowing that you wanted to start to set up on your own? Because I think sometimes people are waiting for that moment, the stars aligning or something to happen to know, right, okay, it's ready for me to make the leap. But then sometimes waiting for the perfect time can be really tricky because you're not quite sure what that was. How did it work out for you?
I had, I've been working at the publishers for 10 years. So I was coming up to a point where I thought I'd probably take another job, or, it probably was the time to move. Unfortunately, my dad was very sick. So he'd been sick for quite a few years, but then it all came to a head. And so I was, going down to Brighton to care for him with my mum and my sister, and then going back to London to run events. And It was just a crazy few months. And I think probably I had quite a bit of time off work. And I came back to work, I felt very probably distant or detached and from the whole thing, which was weird because I loved my brand and all my colleagues were fantastic, but I just felt really kind of out of it, I suppose. It just didn't feel right anymore. And I did my last Elle Style Awards. It was my 10th one in 6 weeks. It probably normally takes like 4 or 5 months, but nothing.
Wow.
So I had to do it all really quickly. And I think I just hit a wall with it all. I just kind of knew I needed a break. And also we'd just been, what I always say to people, you have to be financially okay to do this. And we'd just been bought out. The company had just been bought out. So there was there was the potential for me to get some redundancy because my role was going to change. And so I took the opportunity to get it. So, I was kind of, financially, I had some money to pay my rent, so it kind of did align, like the two things of needing the break, but also being secure enough to take it. Kind of they came at this, so there was just kind of like such an opportunity to just do it.
Totally. And that's such an important piece, because I think sometimes the world of Instagram can bring us into like, just go in and like tell them that's it, and I closed the door and I left. And sometimes those stories of enough is enough are all sort of very dramatic. But I know when I'm in that place of, if I'm worried about money or if I know I've got invoices outstanding, I'm not in creative flow, I'm not doing my best work. And I think there has to be an important piece of that puzzle where you go, you've actually got to be able to survive and look after yourself and be a grown-up as well.
Exactly. And like, just like you said, you're not going to be able to do that thing if you're stressing about, how am I going to pay the rent, how am I going to do the bills, or just the little things. You've got to be secure. I mean, I love it, that obviously people call it the side hustle, but when you're doing things, you're building your business on the side of doing something permanent with an income. I think that's a really clever way of doing it, because you have to have the money. It's otherwise, you can't go and get your website. I mean, I got mine done because I'm an absolute technophobe, but you can't go and get the things you need to do. You can't get them done because you haven't got that resource. So yeah, for me, it definitely was the two things coming together that felt like the right time.
Yeah, and it's kind of like going on a date, going, hi, I'm really keen to meet somebody, like, can we just get this signed, sealed, delivered really quickly and make sure that we're going to be together for the rest of our lives? Nothing smells worse than desperation in that way. So I think it's a really sort of savvy plan. So I guess how did you start that next step of knowing sort of what your niche was and starting to make those moves into getting first clients and meeting people? Because I think sometimes there can be this thing of going out on your own can feel a little bit glorified sometimes, like I can work my own hours and this is great. But sometimes that first day of sitting at your desk going, right, so how do I build this business then? What were the things that really helped you to get momentum and make progress?
Yeah, well, I had about, when I left, I had about 4 weeks off. I kind of needed it, but I was looking after one of my best friend's cats. So I was like the cat lady. I had these two cats in my flat, just sort of sitting around, and I then kind of just woke up one morning and was like, right, I've really got to get going. I've had my time. I feel rested. I need to just.
I can't watch any more this morning.
Yeah, can't do anything else. Yeah, can't watch any more Sex and the City. And just so I just got my contact book out. I thought, I've got to do this. I just contacted every single person. It didn't matter. I mean, I was fortunate enough that I had a load of connections. I've been, in the kind of fashion brand world for 10 years. I'd met a lot of people and I had kept everyone's details, and I just contacted everyone. And it's a bit scary when you send that first email or you take that first call, but you've just got to do it. And I just started to do it, and then things started coming up and opportunities came up, and I took every opportunity. I didn't care about the money. I didn't care about, I just wanted to do everything. So I said yes to everything, which made me quite busy. I was kind of like running, into different jobs and like running across Soho to get from one place to the other. But it worked, because I then landed, I think after a few months, I landed my first sort of client, which was the hospital club. I kind of landed. Wow. And again, it wasn't, it just coming in as a very, sort of assisting the marketing team on their event, but that really kind of started moving things along.
Fantastic. And what did that first initial reach out email look like? Because I think sometimes people are waiting for that secret sauce of like, well, it must have been the way that you wrote paragraph 3. But sometimes it is that thing of, I just asked them. I just told them that I was available. And sometimes you've just got to do that, because most people won't. Most people will wait for the phone to ring, which is kind of the worst thing that you can do. So how did you know what to say with, that sort of sense of like, I'm breezy, but I'm keen and ready to go as well?
Yeah, I think I referenced, I remember, I think you're right. I think people, you can put, and I'm one of them, you can put a lot of barriers to doing something because you're a bit worried or you're a bit scared, but it is just doing it. And it doesn't really matter if the email isn't perfect. It's the fact you've done it. And if you catch somebody at the right time, then you've won. And, they've just realised that you're available or what your services are. So I don't think you should get too stressed about what you write. I must admit, I did write I think in the subject line, I did sort of say like hello from, say, like Elle, was one of my main titles, just so they kind of had a click of why they might know me or why they know me. So I did a bit of a hello from, or, just a bit of a, our history, I suppose, in the subject line. So it kind of caught their attention amongst obviously hundreds of emails people get. So I think that was a key thing. And I still do that now, actually. And then I just was like, it was great working with you on X, or, how you know them. So again, you're just sort of reminding them of why there's a connection, which I think is key. Again, people are dealing with people all the time. So kind of put that in, and then just said, look, I'm available. I'm freelancing now. I'd love to come in, or if there's any opportunities. And it was really simple, really short, but just, I think probably just reminding people of why we'd worked together or why we knew each other, I think is probably one to just always put in. And kept it short and sweet, really.
Yeah, that sounds perfect, because I think sometimes we can just overcomplicate it, and you don't need to say your whole life history or all of the things. It's sometimes that initial, like, hello, how are you? It is that quick reminder, I guess. So then you move really quickly in terms of bringing your husband on board. How did that all come to fruition?
Yeah, crazy.
I went through a very rigorous interview process.
Very, very. No, I've been going for about a year, and it was, the work was going well. I was getting the work in, and I thought, oh, okay, this could be something. And I just needed help. I think everyone, if you're going to set something up or do, you've got the skills, you obviously are good at what you do, but running a business is a whole nother thing. You just, you're so unaware of everything that goes into it. And I think I was just really struggling with the business side of things, and I really needed a partner. I just knew I needed someone to help me, bounce ideas off, figure out tax, all these different things. And basically Ian had been working at a sort of a social kind of influencer marketing agency, and was just not quite sure if it was right for him. And I just said, look, why don't we just do this together? Why don't we just, try and make this work? How fabulous would that be? And I think with Ian, I knew he was going to bring a whole different set of skills, which I think is really important with your business partner. So you're both bringing different things to the party. We have a fundamental, me and him are very same. We're super hardworking. We like things to be right. We don't stop till they're done, kind of. So we have the same values, but very different skills. And I think that's why it works and does work so well. I think we're just lucky, really, that we could do it.
Has there been anything that, like, sort of boundaries or rules that you have in place that have really sort of not only nurtured your working relationship, but also your life relationship, and now that you're parents as well? Do you have any? I mean, I'm imagining you're like the Beckhams, really. Like, when our dinner is being served, like, we're not talking about visit, or like, what sort of things have really helped?
We definitely, we live and breathe the business. We talk about it all the time. We're always working in the evenings or at weekends. And I think if you're passionate about something, that's always going to happen. I don't think you can, like you said, really avoid it. But we do have certain rules. When we pick up our daughter Ella, if we're both there, we don't talk about work until she's in bed. We have that time as a family, which is one of the perks. So we don't start talking about what happened or what email. We just leave it. And also we do try to stop talking about work by like 10 at the latest, because then you just can't sleep. And I think self-care is really important when you run a business. But 9 sort of 10 is the max. We just have to stop. But it is quite hard, I must admit, to just kind of be really strict about something. But having the kind of, and I think family time for us is family time. So if we're all going to be together on a Saturday, that's that, and we switch off. So nice. I think kind of she puts a rule in on us. Do you know what I mean? I think almost like if she's around.
There's nothing like a toddler and their own agenda to kind of go, oh, okay, this is what we're doing then. Right, fine.
Yeah. Switching into mum mode, yeah.
Yeah. And how has that been since having Ella? Like, I think sometimes... sometimes Matt and I will both do the pickup, and I'm sure, like, so many of the different nursery teachers will say, like, what do you two do? Almost like you're always around. I mean, maybe they just think that we've got like rock star parents and we just sit around all day, sitting on inheritance, which is far from the truth. But if we are around or working from home, we try and do it together. But what have you found has really benefited in terms of parenting, and what does Ella gain? What do you gain from working together and being freelance and flexible?
I think definitely the biggest thing is how we parent. We've made, I'm not calling them sacrifices, but for example, we live in a 2-bedroom flat. We don't live in a house. We don't have a car. Those things we could have if we were salaried. And we're very kind of aware that certain things we're not going to do because we have the business. So, but then on the flip, I think the biggest thing is that we do get to both parent Ella. Ian's always home. She sees him, I would say the majority of evenings. I went back to work after 4 months after having Ella, and he had 3 months paternity. He took her for 3 months, and I don't think you can get that time back. I think, we're very lucky. So as much as we might not be doing, there might be some things in our life that we're not doing because of the business. She gets to see us a lot. She has a lot of time with both of us, which I think is super important. I have Fridays off with her. I felt like I was owed my time back because I didn't have proper maternity. So I have my Friday with her, but then Ian will have his, sometimes he'll have Friday with her. And I just think it's so nice. So she sees a lot of us. I think it's definitely why we do it. I think, we do it because we love it, but also that flexibility of she just gets to see us so much. And I think that's just lovely, at this sort of young, age.
Totally. And that sense of being able to kind of control not control, but sort of manage your own life. And I love what you said about your bio, that sense of trying to be really conscious about what your personal and professional life actually looks like. And I think so quickly, like whether you run your own thing or you work for somebody else, sometimes we can just get caught in the system or get caught in other people's expectations. And I think it's so important to have that time just to step back and go, hang on a minute, is this actually making me happy? Like, is this what I need to be doing? And I did this talk yesterday at MTV, and my final question to them, because they'd set loads of goals, they thought about what they were doing for the year, I asked them, what are you now available for and what are you unavailable for? And you could see kind of like the sassiness rearing up in people, like, I am so unavailable for that now. But it was really interesting to see that shift of somebody actually saying, okay, I'm going to make this conscious decision. I would love to talk about how you pitch and how you sort of create packages for people and how you sort of stand out in the market and all of that sort of process. Because I know so many of my clients get stuck in this, I don't know how to price, I don't know sort of what to offer. How do you go about these sort of things?
We did some work only actually last year. So we've been going for 6 years, and last year we really kind of nailed our vision, who we are and our core. And I think that is important work to do. That what is your USP? Like, why do you stand out from everyone else? I mean, for us, our sort of, I suppose, what goes to the company is positive work. So it's how we work, it's how our approach to everything, but also it's obviously we're creating positive work, positive experiences. So we kind of like nailed what, and that has really helped. That kind of obviously is how we lead in. So I think knowing what what are your values, what's at your core of your business, and kind of communicating that is really important to do. Finding some time to kind of get that right and present that to people. I think not being afraid to charge for your time. I mean, it's really hard when you start a business and you're so worried. You're like, oh, I don't feel like I should charge this, and oh, they're going to think it's too expensive. But you have to value yourself. You have to kind of just be brave, confident, and go, no, this is what I'm charging. Look at your competitors. I mean, we always kind of slightly go under what our competitors are charging because you want to be competitive. But you have to charge correctly. And I really think it's brave and ballsy, but you've got to do it, and the right people will pay the money because they will respect what you do and value it, your time. So I I think kind of just being confident with your fees, and you can play around with them, which is great. If that was, you can kind of see how the last few months have gone. But I think we kind of, we charge by how much time it's going to take us, and we actually use something. It's an online system called Everhour, which tracks our time. So we know how much time we're spending on jobs. We constantly overservice everyone, but we can see that we are charging correctly. So that could be something that people might find interesting to use. You can just, because I think sometimes your time on something just goes and you don't even know how much time you've spent, and hours add up to, your time you should charge on an hourly basis in your head. So I think Everhour is a really useful tool just to kind of, even if you're not showing your client it, you're just using it yourself.
Exactly, especially if you have that I want to do a good job kind of muscle in you, that it can be very easy to go back and tweak and just do this. And I had to say this to somebody the other day, like, can I just do this? Can we have a chat about it? And then I'll complete the thing. So I'm not completing it, sending it back, then we're having a chat, because my time is my money as well. And I think sometimes unless you drive that in a really streamlined way, people, especially if people are in employment as well, they love a chat on the phone.
Yeah, let's talk for hours.
Yeah, should we have a chat tomorrow? It's like, and I've started to become a bit sassier of like, what do you want to chat about? Why? What's going on? And how has it been since you started to employ people as well? What does that look like of you sort of stepping into that realm?
Yeah, we employ 3 people now full time, and yeah, it's really scary, when you do it. It's a big commitment in so many different ways, financially, but also, you're shaping their career. You've got to train them, you've got to make sure them, they're doing well and they're progressing, and supporting them, personally. And so it is a big undertaking, but it's just so worth it. It brings so much energy, new energy, to the business. And it also just, there is a certain level of training, but then once, they're off doing their own thing, it's just a joy, because you can get on with growing the business. And I would always say, again, make sure, the sums add up and you can do it and you feel you can do it. I have sort of said to people, maybe get a contractor in. We started with a 3-month contractor. We didn't want to commit to totally permanent. So we just said, right, let's just do 3 months with someone and see how it goes. And even with having her for 3 months, we knew it made a difference. We definitely needed the resource. But yeah, so whilst it's scary, it's just such a positive thing. It just means you can get on and grow the business. You can focus on all those things that you just can't do because you're in, your head's in the actual work.
Totally. How did you know that it was the right time?
We were just so stretched. Me and Ian were working till, I don't know, like 1, 2 in the mornings, not eating a lot. It was crazy. And we just knew, Ian really was actually doing production with me, but really needed to get into the kind of the business and commercial side of the business, and we just need it. So I think I think when the business is coming in and you're just at that point where it's gone a bit wild,
yes.
You're on that runaway train, and
and you keep looking in your fridge and you're like, gosh, I haven't really eaten in here for a while, or like, but yet there's still kind of a bowl of pasta that's been lurking for a while.
Yeah, pasta and pesto, literally. You just kind of, you're at that crunch point, and it's really scary, but it really is worth it. And I do say to a few people when I kind of hear where they're at, so I think it's just where the work is coming in, you can forecast, you can see that you've got this amount of work coming up, just kind of you're at that, it's kind of like you're at if you've done insane hours for I don't know how many months, I think there is a thing to say, bring someone in. And like I said, you don't have to bring them in straight away permanent. Bring them in as a contract, have a go at it, see how you feel. You want to make sure you click with them. Culture is really important, that you're, that they are the right fit for the business as well. So lots of things to consider, but you can dip your toe in it.
I love that, because sometimes people feel like they have to make a decision that is going to define them for the rest of their life and their business, and actually it can be slowly but surely. And sometimes people, from the flip side, they want to make sure that they're going to be in the right place and in the right environment and happy and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a two-way thing, and it benefits everybody. What have been kind of questions or things that have really worked to know that you're getting the right people or to build that culture, so your ideas are communicated in the way that you would want them to be?
Yeah, I think we do have, we always have a 2 or 3 round interview process. We learn, we learn on one recruit, we didn't do it quite right, he's not with us anymore, but we learn, you learn things. And I think we have quite a big interview process so we can really get to know people, and we give them a project, etc. And then I think you just get a feeling, a vibe with someone that they're going to kind of work in the office. I can't explain it. I kind of just see people and they talk to me. I think, yeah, you're going to be right. But I think in the office we have a handbook where we have about, what our culture is, what our values are as a company. We're really clear on it.
Good.
And so it's kind of laid out really, like, this is us, this is who we are. So I think kind of that communication, and I think telling them what we're doing, so they're always aware of where we're going, what our ideas are. What they feel very much part of the business. They are helping us grow it. So open communication and not being closed off to what's happening with the business, share with them, because then they're going to feel invested and they're going to get where you're going. And all the brand work, we sort of showed them how we got to where we got to. So I think it's very important that they are open, they have that visibility.
Definitely. And then it's not that kind of us and them type culture, that there is that because I know that I've found, I haven't done a lot of events, but sometimes when I was working as an agent, we would have workshops or things like that, and there's no room for kind of like, oh, that's not in my job description. Like, there's very much all hands on deck, let's get this thing moving and shaking and sorted, very much so, rather than like, being selective. So there's so many personality elements as well that you have to get right too. And how important was it when you moved into your office and having that separate space away from home?
Oh, super amazing. Just, we so needed it. Obviously we're husband and wife, so it was a bit more intense. We had a small flat, so we went from the dining room table then to the spare room, which is now Ella's room, and then we were just like, we've got to move. It really is probably the best thing we've done, especially the office. We've had like a few now, and the one we're in, it's just, that is your work environment. We're creating a really lovely space. I think the thing that I say to people, when you start your own business, you can sometimes be in the 9 to 5 rhythm still, because that's what's ingrained in you. That's what you've always known. And what you have to do is lift your head up and go, no, this is my office. How do I want my office to be? And what do I want it to look like? And, we've changed ours even recently around. So we have like a relaxation kind of quiet area where we have all our books and magazines and just a chance to go and be quiet, because that's what we wanted. I think sometimes you just sort of forget that this is your business, and have fun with it and get an office and make it what your perfect office would be. If you want to have a dog in the office or Jo Malone candles, have a Jo Malone candle.
It should be a requirement, absolutely.
I think it has definitely helped. It makes you feel, I don't know, every day fresh. You go in and then, like you said, you can walk out, and there is a bit of that separation, which I think is really good for you mentally as well.
And that walk, that commute sometimes, or even just being out in the world, is really good for creativity. Because otherwise, sometimes on a Wednesday when our cleaner comes, like, I have to make sure I'm out of my house, because otherwise I've got all her stories of stuff that's happening, and I'm like, I'm actually, not that I want to be like that mean kind of woman, like, I'm actually working, don't talk to me, I'm going to close the door. But you have to put those boundaries in place. And I remember when I had Oscar that I was doing bits of work quite early when he was little, between nap times and all that sort of stuff. But because everybody's excited about seeing the baby, you find yourself having so many people on your sofa and just kind of hanging around, and you have to have those like, sorry, I'm actually working, or like, I can see you, but it's got to be within these times that work for me.
Yeah, I think having your own business can be, obviously I had Ian, but it can be quite, it can be quite lonely. And if you get it stuck, I mean, if you get stuck, even to be honest, even if you get stuck in your office, you're in problems. You've got to get yourself out. I mean, I actually go to networking groups now, not necessarily to network, just to go and chat and make sure I'm out and about. I mean, we were always in meetings, but just going to chat to girls and ladies that are doing it, as well, is really useful. But I think getting out and about is so key. Constantly meeting people is so key. Don't get stuck in your office or in your house, and you're plowing away on your emails, but you're not meeting anyone. I think it's really important to make connections, because you never know, they could put your name, forward to somebody else they know, and that's the way of creating business. So I think kind of always getting out is really good.
Yeah, and like we said, we need that human connection of putting a name to the face and sort of just really sussing who somebody is in real life, and just seeing people as normal people. I think sometimes as well, especially with like journalists and things like that, when you're growing up, you think they're kind of scary or they're people who are off limits. But whenever I go to events and I meet journalists, they're always so lovely and chatty and interested and interesting, and just kind of having that sort of conversation is so good. Are there any things that really help you personally every day, or that you kind of tap into whenever you need it, or you get stressed, that really help you sort of get centered again or feeling good?
I think I'd love to say I get up at 5 a.m. and do yoga. I mean, I just don't. I need to do things like that, but I don't. I think the biggest thing for me is, which I say to my team a lot, is slow down, speed up. I think when I feel quite overwhelmed by everything, I go somewhere by myself. I have quiet time, and I just think about everything. And I think once you slow down, you get a lot of clarity, and a lot of things come to you, and you can solve problems if you're not getting distracted. Yes. And I often get my best ideas, or I reprogram myself, or I think, okay, that's how I'm going to manage that. Just having that time. I think sometimes, with your own business, you just going, but you have to stop. And I think when you stop, things speed up. And it's just one of those sayings, but it's so true. And I think that's one way recenter, I kind of calm myself back down and get my priorities back, and it's really useful. Like once a week, just have that time, checking in on yourself almost.
Because otherwise you're available to all the people at all the times, and you're very reactive rather than being in that proactive state of going, okay, what's going on for me? And sometimes I just need to walk around the block and leave my phone at home, and then I come back and I'm like, oh, now I know what it is, or I just need to do this and this. Because you can get lost in the emails and the to-do list, and right, what's on today, what's on next week, what do we need to cover from last week? It can become really full on. I've got one final question, which is, where would you like to be in 5 years' time, in business, in life, and all that good stuff? We ultimately want the business to be bigger. We want to have more people, we want to be a bigger agency. So kind of just growing the team and growing obviously our work and our portfolio. We'd love to have an international office. We do things abroad and around the country. We'd love to have a spot. We got married abroad, and we'd love to get a little apartment or something abroad so we can jet there at a weekend, or go and stay. I mean, I think one of the key things that me and Nina kind of like working towards is just having some proper time off in the summer. Obviously when Ella's at school, having some actual really good holiday time with her. Taking a 3-4 week trip away, and leaving the team to run things, and just having like a really great summer. It's something that we really, really want to do. So I think if that's happening in 5 years' time, I'll be really happy. Oh, so nice, and just that sense that kind of having that big vision as well, because again, knowing what you're working for, knowing where you're going with this. And I feel the same. Like last year I felt like I was sort of semi-working in August, but not many people were around. And actually at the end of August last year I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could just take August off and not really think about it? And then bizarrely I'm having a baby in August this year, so it's almost like, thanks universe, you heard my moment. But that sense of being able to really love what you do, but then also leave it and it can work itself and it can run its own way and thrive and by itself. That's brilliant. If people want to come and find out more about you and what you're all about and connect with you, where should they go?
So the website is www.electricsunshine.co.uk, but on Instagram and Twitter we are at We Make Sunshine. That's our handle. So follow us there. You can see our work and what we're doing. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. So just Laura Mulvaney, you can follow me there. But we'd love to, if anybody wants to get in touch or speak to us, then just drop us a line. The website has the email info.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I feel like I've learned so much, and also I feel like I need to get out more. Like, I've been looking at your website this morning, I'm like, oh, it looks so glamorous. Like, I need to put on a Dior dress and go out. I don't actually have a Dior dress, but that's the dream. That's what I'm going to be going for.
Go out and enjoy yourself for an hour.
Or you'll just see me like in the local sandwich shop, kind of dressed up like a crazy lady. So bizarrely, in North London, where I went to drama school, not far from your office, there's a lady who sits out in a kind of peacock blue ball gown, and she sits on her steps every day, and she was doing this in 2000 when I was at drama school, and I happened to like run past there the other day, and she was still there in the same dress. She was still doing it like 18 years later. It was insane.
Oh, love it.
I don't sense that dress has been dry cleaned, which freaked me out a bit, but there we go. But thank you so much, Laura. You've been such a brilliant guest, and I know lots of people will learn things, so thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear what you thought of the episode and share any takeaways with me. Come and find me across social media at Nicky Raby, or you can visit the podcast page, nickyraby.com/podcast.